All right. Shalom. Peace. Make sure I'm heard. All right. Shalom. Make sure I'm heard. All right. Shalom. We'll start this off by giving all praise and honor and glory to the Heavenly Father in the name of His Son, Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shah, for giving me the Holy Spirit to do this lesson, man. And pretty much, bring this out. But anyway, double honors to the apostles and the elders at the great millstone. Peace and blessings to the faithful elect, those selected to be saved from the destruction that's been declared from the beginning in the Bible to come upon America and to all the wicked inhabitants hereof, to the entire globe, but primarily here. And those being slated also being declared in the Bible, being from the beginning, being none other than the Israelites, who are today being called so-called blacks, Negroes, African Americans, Latinos, Hispanics, West Indians, Native American Indians, Seminole Indians, Afro people scattered abroad. The men of these people teaching the true doctrine of the Bible, and the men, women, and children of these people who have turned back to their true heritage, which is the true doctrine of the Bible. All right. So, and are doing so according to their works. All right. So getting into it, this lesson is going to be casting off, the leaven, which is what we are instructed to do in order to successfully keep the Passover that's coming up for those that are awakened to the fact and truth that they're Israelites, whether you're keeping it this week, this coming week, and or in the next month, because that amongst the camps we keep them at different times, but nonetheless you're observing it, and if you're truly observing it, it's a regimen you must follow, and casting out leaven is a part of it. So let's start with this. This is Exodus 12, and let's start with 1. It says, "And the Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, This month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you." So yeah, this is the first month of the year. For those that are under I guess from what I know, just the apostles and the elders' doctrine, understanding of the keeping the times, I'll say, where we at are in the times, and this is the first month, which according to Esau's calendar is February. We're towards the end of February now, but the month just came in on the 12th at evening due to the new moon. So this would be for us the month of Abib that are understanding it like that. All right. But everything's out of whack at the end of the day. But this is how you do it. So this is the month. This month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you. Let's see. It says, we're going to jump down to the point. "7 days, because we got the Passover coming up. All right. And I'm going to start at 14. "And this day shall be unto you for a memorial, and you shall keep it, Salaki, and you shall keep in a feast to the Lord throughout your generations. You shall keep it a feast by an ordinance forever." So it never ended. As it tells us in Matthew the 5th chapter and 17th verse, Yahushua said, "Think not him, he is come to destroy the prophets of the law. He come not to destroy, but to fulfill, actually bring out what's written, do it, so it's not destroyed, not one jot or tittle, because he said till heaven and earth pass, which has not happened. So this is forever, even, with that being said. All right. So that's the Passover, but you got the Passover, and then, which is the 14th day of the first month at even. And then on the 15th day, this is a whole nother feast, which is the Feast of Unleavened. Well, this is the Feast of Unleavened Bread. I'll say you got the Passover, all right, which is a solemn assembly. And then you got on the 14th day at even, then you got on the 15th day, the following day, at even it starts the feast of unleavened bread. All right. It says, 7 days shall ye eat. And that's what we're going into. 7 days shall ye eat unleavened bread. And even the first day ye shall put away leaven out of your houses. So this is the casting off of leaven. And leaven is a rising agent. You see what I'm saying? Leaven, we're going to go into physically, we'll give you a list of things that you need to get rid of. And then, these are like primary things that you can probably find if you have not done so in your ingredients, in your food, in the list of ingredients of the foods you may have in your counter, in your on your counter, in your refrigerator, you know what I'm saying, in your freezer. For those of you who drink alcohol and wine, and etc. All right, toothpaste, etc. All right, so it says, 7 days shall ye eat unleavened bread. Even the first day shall ye put away leaven out of your houses. For whosoever eateth leavened bread shall for whosoever eateth leavened bread from the first day until the 7th day, that soul shall be cut off from Israel. All right, so you got to get rid of, all the leaven in your house, which is going to go on to say, it says, in the first day. All right, let's keep going. He's going to get to the point. I'm going to start at 18. In the first month, on the 14th day of the month at even, ye shall eat unleavened bread until the 21st day of the month at even. All right, so in the first month, on the 14th day of the month at even. Yeah, because starting the in the Passover is no leavened bread. All right. That is actually how we got into having a feast of unleavened bread for 7 days the following day, because all that unleavened bread we had on the 14th day. It says, 7 days shall there be no leaven found in your houses. For whosoever eateth that which is leavened, even that soul shall be cut off from the congregation of Israel, whether he be a stranger or born in the land. You shall eat nothing leavened, in all your habitations shall ye eat unleavened bread. So that's pretty much that. Now I'm gonna give you a quick list. We're gonna run through it, and then we're gonna show the spiritual representation, the point of this, because you got casting off the leaven physically out of your homes, and then you got, your tabernacle, and then you got the casting off of the leaven spiritually out of your tabernacle, which is you yourself. All right, so let's go into this list real quick on what leaven is. All right, so leaven, we're gonna start with things that cause leaven, which is simply when it causes rising, bubbling, and then it deals with time. You see what I'm saying? And really, just to cap it off, is dealing with excess. You see what I'm saying? And excess is what? Stuff you don't need, which we're gonna go into. But anyway, just to go into let me grab that real quick by the Spirit. So excess, an amount of something that is more than necessary, permitted, or desirable. So that's what pretty much the chemical reaction known as leavening does. It creates excess exceeding a prescribed or desirable amount, because the bread, if you got it in the cake can actually get bigger than what you wanted, it to be. You see what I'm saying? So that's why leaven can be used to represent things not good. Just touching on the spiritual part, start off, but getting what leavening is, what will be used to create that effect is what's known as yeast, baking powder, and baking soda. Baking soda is commonly used in recipes that do not contain an additional acid. Now that's actually how you get the because that's how you got 1 + 1 = 2. You got a compound or a formula. The formula to create the effect known as leaven takes a leavening agent, and it has to be put with an acid. You see what I'm saying? And what's spiritual about it, you got a lot of these acids already found in what it is and whatever it may be that you want to cause the rise or create excess in. You see, you want, like, if it's keeping it simple, to keep a cake, you sometimes you could just use one of these agents by themselves and it'll still cause the cake or whatever, the bread or whatever it may be, to rise. Why? Because the pretty much the thing that the formula is already there for it. Like the ingredient, like say you put like you say baking soda with acid. That acid can already it's probably already produced inside of the cake, because yeast feeds off of acid. So that you got yeast, and that's like a yeast feeds off sugar. You see what I'm saying? And that's how you actually get, you know, a cake to rise, just off the yeast. Why? Because sugar is acidic. See? But anyway, baking powder is commonly, Laura Williams correct. But anyway, baking powder is scientifically, I'm saying, it says baking powder is most commonly used in recipes that do not contain an additional acid. Therefore, solely water and heat are required. So you could just use baking powder alone to create leavening. You see what I'm saying? Well, okay, let me jump down. It says, just keep in mind that the leavening effects of baking powder will not be as distinct as those of yeast. Baking powder causes baked goods to rise rapidly, but not to the same extent as yeast. You could replace yeast with baking powder as at a 1-to-1 ratio. All right. So that's what people tend to do. If they ain't got yeast, they're going to use baking powder, you know. And it says yeast differs from both baking soda and baking powder. So all different things, but they use to do the same thing, create leavening. So these are things you want to get rid of. Anything you got baked that's in your house that got baking soda in it, baking powder, yeast, you need to get rid of it. It says mainly because it is a live organism and takes substantially longer leaven. Mainly because it is a live organism and takes substantially longer to leaven dough. So they're talking about yeast. So yeast is a more drawn out process to create that leavening effect. But nonetheless, these are things you simply want to get out. And then speak to this too, as technically it truly is an oxymoron, because when you look up organism is something that's living. So that's an oxymoron. To say live would have to insinuate that organism is dead. You see what I'm saying? Because once somebody dies, this is a conversation side thing, real, but brothers know. But anyway, an organism is a person, right? Your skin is an organism, it's something that's living. Now, when you die, is your skin still living? So would you still be considered an organism? No. And how we know that, because the skin goes on to corrupt. They take the very essence of what life is out of the body. You see what I'm saying? Which is the organs. But anyway, that's just to speak on that, because it's by the spirit this came up. So anyway, and I used to say that shit too. A living organism. That's an oxymoron, basically, man. It says mainly because it is a live organism, it takes substantially longer to leaven dough. All right. So simply, you want to get rid of baking powder because it's going to cause that leavening. See, and and you want to get rid of yeast, and you want to get rid of baking soda. Now let's move on. So I'm gonna try to keep this short. All right, this is sodium bicarbonate. Now this is where Esau gets, slick at, because they know that we gotta, keep these commandments to the best of our ability, or we will be punished. And real quick, I'm gonna go ahead and get this goddamn devil, man. What you should know this, but this is Salaki, it's 2 Corinthians, in the 2nd chapter, 11th verse. And it reads, it says, lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. Yeah, he likes changing things and being slick, trying to come up on us. Here it is. You got to keep it yourself, but don't make it easy on him while he's always trying to get the advantage by keeping things, out of your knowledge, out of your awareness. Don't make it easy on him by not knowing about this. So anyway, this is sodium, and one of his advantages he tries to create is changing the names of things. Sodium bicarbonate is simply baking soda, man. You see what I'm saying? Let me go ahead. This is another name for baking soda. Sodium bicarbonate. All right. And I can prove that, by the spirit on a much deeper level. So sodium bicarbonate, commonly known as baking soda. See? So you got to get rid of this. That's really that simple. All right. You want to get rid of that. And then I'm going to prove to you how you know that's baking soda. Leavening. All right. Calcium phosphate. This is another name for a hidden name. So sodium bicarbonate is alias for baking soda. So remember, you got to get rid of yeast, baking powder, and baking soda. Another word for baking soda is sodium bicarbonate. You have to get rid of that. Calcium phosphate. This is another word for baking powder. All right. Along with sodium bicarbonate, as we just said. Yeah, baking soda. So calcium phosphate, that's baking powder, and sodium carbonate is baking powder. No, I said that the wrong way. Sodium bicarbonate is baking soda, and sodium phosphate, or calcium phosphate, is baking powder. All right, now how we simply know this, I'm gonna come back on that part. All right, now let's go right here real quick. It says in baking, calcium phosphate is often a part of baking powder, along with sodium bicarbonate. So where there's baking powder, there's they saying it's pretty much there's found the calcium phosphate a lot of times, and where there's baking soda, if I didn't say that already, there's found sodium bicarbonate. It says 3 main calcium phosphates salts are used in foods: monocalcium phosphate, and tricalcium phosphate. All right. And real quick, I believe I got those on here because you got more names, and those are all just as well. Those are also see, that's another. They just gave it away already, so I might as well just dead it right now. Monocalcium phosphate is a leavening agent. See, it says MCP is a leavening acid with a neutralizing value of 80. So it's a leavening acid. Remember, to get that leavening, the leavening formula, which we're gonna get, is to create leavening, you gotta have a formula. This is why you get rid of the very things that help bring the formula, or that's a part of that bring forth the formula, because sugar is a part of it, but you're not gonna get rid of sugar per se, because it's not really sugar. It's more so these things, because these things act off the sugar. So it's not really sugar. It's these things you're using sugar to create this, scenario of, this, leaven agent. But anyway, this is for those who want to understand a little deeper level. But anyway, this is calcium phosphate. Once again, it is baking powder. Sodium bicarbonate is baking soda. Now moving on. There's another thing that came up. A brother had dropped he had some protein shake. It was some bullshit. A lot of that protein stuff, some bull crap. especially the way the soy, that stuff clog your pores, man. All right. But you got less forms of whey too. But anyway, this is how we know that this is relevant, because in that, I should have pulled up a picture of it, but in his ingredients was found processed with alkali. All right. And it says right here, 4 things to avoid in chocolate. Chocolate offers numerous health benefits, but if you think you are going to get your health fix from a yoo-hoo, you will be very wrong. Alkalized or Dutch. So where you see the word alkalized, these are more code name words for leavening agents. It says cocoa powder used in the production of numerous foods and beverages such as syrups, ice creams, and icings is frequently alkali treated, which is a chemical process by the so-called white man. It says the process involves adding any number of agents. Yeah, these are leavening agents we are going over. Most commonly sodium carbonate. It says dissolved in water directly to the powder, liquor, or cocoa nibs, and then allowing the mixture to react. According to the authors of a 2008 paper published in the Journal of Agriculture and Food Chemistry, the mixture is cool and dry, leaving the alkali. So that alkali automatically is sodium carbonate. All right, let's see. So you go to soy and all that. But anyway, so you want to get rid of that. That's a leavening agent. And I also believe it's acidic, which is how we know. So you want to get rid of anything that got processed with alkali, you know, in the ingredients. You want to get rid of that because that is denoting that sodium carbonate is there. All right. So you want to get rid of that. Now, see something real quick. Ammonium bicarbonate. This is another one you want to get rid of. You just make a list. You want to get rid of this. See, there's ammonium bicarbonate, baking soda. It says ammonium bicarbonate is a common leavening agent which releases CO2, which I believe is carbon dioxide, without the need for an acid. So this don't even need an acid to react. Unlike baking powder or soda, it does not leave an alkaline taste characteristic of soda or baking powder. This ingredient is not used in high volume cakes, but mostly in extra crisp cookies. So a lot of your cookies, if you got cookies, they probably got this in it, ammonium bicarbonate. That's a leavening agent. That's leaven. You got to get rid of it. All right. All right, we're going to go ahead and get into it. So this is ammonium bicarbonate. Say you can't stop nothing. This is another one you want to get rid of. It says ammonium bicarbonate is a common leavening agent, which releases CO2, which is carbon dioxide, I believe, which is bad, you know, to a certain degree. And it's what you actually exhale. So that's, you know, it's all spiritual. It says without the need for an acid. That's showing you this acid is a very key part in the leavening formula, which is something key to understand too. It says unlike baking powder or soda. So as I said, you got certain common, you got certain individual leavening agents that's able to just pretty much create the leavening effect just by themselves, it appears. But nah, that's because you can't do nothing without the formula. So the catalyst will still have to be there. You know, the partner in the formula. You know, one of the members of the formula will have to still actively be there, man. Which we're gonna get. But it says unlike baking powder or soda. It does not leave an alkaline taste characteristic of soda. Baking powder, this ingredient is not used in high volume cakes, but mostly in extra crisp cookies. I think I read that. Ammonium bicarbonate is an inorganic compound with formula HCO3 simplified to NHCO3. The compound has many names reflecting its long history. So that's showing you that these names are actually these leavening agents. All right. It says chemically speaking, it is the bicarbonate salt of ammonium ion. It is colorless solid that degrades readily to carbon dioxide, water, and ammonium. Monocalcium phosphate, another one you want to get rid of. NCP is a leavening acid with a neutralizing value of 80. It reacts with sodium bicarbonate and releases carbon dioxide in the presence of water. So this reacts off the sodium bicarbonate, which is baking soda. See? Now, jump it back here. So you put those two together and you'll create the leavening. Because this is an acid. And really is less complicated than that, you know. But we're gonna get this real quick. What causes Ryzen in bread? Because yeast eats sugar and burps carbon dioxide, which gets trapped by the bread's gluten. The more sugar your yeast eats, the more gas that gets formed, and the higher the bread rises. All right. So now, this is the formula right here. How you simply have it when the fungi yeast, because yeast is a fungi. Let's touch on that real quick. Yeast and food manufacturer yeast is used to cause fermentation and leavening. So that's why you got to get rid of yeast. It says the fungi feeds on sugars. See, so that's the two witnesses producing alcohol, ethanol, and carbon dioxide in beer. All right. Now, when you go back here, bread rises because yeast eats sugar and burps carbon dioxide. So when yeast and sugar meet within, you know what I'm saying, the cake, it basically implodes. That's why I said it burps carbon dioxide, which is a gas. That same gas is used to create the effect in balloons, hot air balloons, I believe. And, it produces a swelling motion. It swells up, aka it leavens almost, basically. You see, it says bread rises because your yeast eats sugar and burps carbon dioxide. Now, jumping back here, it says the fungi feeds on sugars, producing alcohol, ethanol, and carbon dioxide in beer and wine manufacture. The former is the desired product. See, so that's why when dudes drink beer, their stomach swell up. People drink beer, they get beer bellies, because all that leavening is there, all that gas is there. And then same thing with wine. So that's why you got to get rid of certain wines, certain beers, because they have yeast in them. It's going to cause excess. It says in baking, it is latter. In baking, it is the latter. In sparkling wines and beer, some of the carbon dioxide is retained in the finished beverage. Thus, when you drink certain beers, when dudes drink a lot of beer, most of the beers or whatever it is they may be drinking, they get beer bellies because most of the beers that they're consuming, they have a lot of carbon dioxide in them, a lot of gas. You see what I'm saying? They have a lot of yeast in them. It says the alcohol produced in bread making is driven off when the dough is baked. The fermentation of wine and sourdough breads is often initiated by naturally occurring yeast present in air. One yeast cell can ferment approximately its own weight of glucose per hour. Now jumping back here. So that's simply it. That's the formula. So you got yeast and you got sugar, but you also have within that you also have acid that also could cause this reaction. So all yeast need is sugar, but all, and that's the formula. You're going to get, leaven. It's going to burp carbon dioxide, create a gas-like motion. When you seeing your bread, you baking your cake, you watching it rise, it's basically burping. Why? Because yeast or wherever it may be in there, and sugar is meeting. The formula is being put together and it's imploding. But what holds it together from exploding and from not going into pieces is the gluten, which is a glue, which is that's why you don't. That's really something, a bad part of people died, but that's a whole nother thing. So the formula that creates it is yeast and sugar, but you also have baking powder replaced for yeast and baking soda replaced for yeast, and it's going to obviously act off what? The sugar. But you also have acid. But sugar is basically acid because sugar is acidic. Acid is nothing but something that's sour in water. Let's get it real quick. And acid, any substance that in water solution tastes sour. So a lemon, for example. So you could taste when it's truly acidic. But less it's technical. It's technical because sugar is high in acidity, but you got actual acids that have this, reputation right here, which is acid, any substance that in water solution tastes sour. So if you taste the liquid of a lemon, it's gonna taste sour. Why? Because it's acid. It says changes the color. So you really ain't gonna get that if you was to dissolve sugar. It'd probably just taste sweet. But a lot of sugar fake. So you can't really. It's like what sugar are you really talking about? Because a lot of the sugars that this bread, this yeast is probably reacting to. It's a good point. Is by the spirit. Is they white. They table sugars and all type of chemical, so it's probably outright acid in these sugars because you got and a lot of those that's natural, but you got like the that's why that still technically can be correct because you got fake sugar and real sugar, man. Esau makes fake sugar, and that fake sugar is what this yeast could feed off of and react just as if uh acid was there. You see what I'm saying? Because within that sugar is probably actually the acid that you trying to, you know, that the yeast or the baking powder or the baking soda needs, or the sodium bicarbonate needs, or the calcium phosphate needs, or the monocalcium phosphate needs, or the ammonium bicarbonate needs, monocalcium bicarbonate, Salakia. All right. So all those things, those are just other words for baking soda, baking powder, and that's it. And then yeast. And those things go together with, are added together with acid or sugar, but because the sugar could be acid, and then it creates the leavening situation. And that's pretty much it, man. All right. Now, what does that actually cause? The cake was already there. The leavening just caused it to be more in excess, which is more than you need, because we can go ahead and touch on the spiritual part now too. But another way too, what I do want to say, how you know that these are outright acids. So really, this is a leavening acid itself. How do we know that? Because when you break down phos, you got light, and then you got phosphorus, which means to bear, or phosphor, which means to bear or carry, and then you got eight. Eight was a chemical, a chemical compound word forming element, which they use when they was denoting certain chemicals to be present. And eight is one of the ones they use. So when eight is put on anything, guess what eight means? Eight means it goes back to acid, man. So this is how you know this is an outright. Anytime you see that eight phosphate, they saying acid is there. And acid is the thing that's needed See, monocalcium phosphate, because it is acidic, because that 8 is there. And the acid, it says, is a common leavening, ammonium bicarbonate. That's acid automatically because the 8 is there. So these people don't go on the words. It says is a common leavening agent which releases carbon dioxide, which is gas. So it creates that effect without the need for an acid. But it's an acid in itself, unlike baking powder or baking soda. So baking powder or baking soda, it needs the acid to react with, which would be a sugar. So that's why people can put baking soda in their cake, because there's sugar there, aka acid. But these particular ones by themselves can just be put there. Ammonium bicarbonate, it says it releases gas by itself, and gas, carbon dioxide, is what's used to blow up goddamn air balloons, man. Hydrogen is a gas when you break the word down, because pretty much you can create the gas off of right here. Another way of producing our hydrogen, called biological water splitting, would involve the use of certain synthetic microbes that use light energy to produce hydrogen from water as part of their metabolic processes. So they're able to create gas off water. And this is yep, cleanest way to produce hydrogen, however, is through splitting water into hydrogen and oxygen by using sunlight, because they all chemicals. Because remember, hydrogen is water in itself. You see what I'm saying? So if a gas, that's why your gas, when you put it in your car, is a liquid, man. It can't be a liquid if ain't no water there. So it's automatically there. And then oxygen is just air. You see what I'm saying? But nonetheless, my whole point of bringing this out is it's a gas, aka a fuel. It says a process that but the way they would do it without using this process would generate carbon dioxide, which is, pretty much bad, because that's what you exhale out. Everything that leaves your body is a sign that it's waste. Almost, in a sense. Because if a nigga gets shot and he bleed out, yeah, he's been wasted. He's wasted his life. That's spiritual. They say that on the game, GTA, back on, to play that in the world. But anyway, it says hydrogen is an energy carrier with no carbon in it. So when you burn it, you only produce water. It says, which makes it a clean fuel with no emissions. All right. Now this is going into other things. This is what I wanted. Hydrogen is the main component of Jupiter and other gas giant planets. According to Los Alamos, the first gas balloon flight was launched in Paris in 1783, and the gas used in the balloon was hydrogen. See that? So it says it releases CO2, which is carbon dioxide, which goes back to hydrogen. See what I'm saying? So this is a strong enough, thing on its own. It has enough hydrogen in it to pretty much blow up or create a leavening effect without an acid actually being there. So basically it is like 2-in-1. Like with the baking powder and the baking soda, you got it needs to be put with an acid. But this is already an acid in itself, based off it having 8 on it, because it goes back to acid, which we're gonna get in a second. But since it has that hydrogen in it, it already creates that blowing up effect. So this is why this is an outright leavening agent you have to get rid of, man. All right, so I pretty much touched on everything. Now I can show you the other sides of this. This is Lord willing, it's making sense. Let's see. Okay, let's go into this, and then we're gonna touch the spiritual part and close this out. 8. It says, word. Let's do it up the 8 to 3. It says, in chemistry, word forming element used to form the names of salts from acids. So when you got phosphate, it's a salt. You see what I'm saying? But it goes back to acid. How do we know that? It says, identical with 8, the substance formed, for example, by the action of Osalaki. In chemistry, word forming element used to form the names of salts from acids. So they're telling you this is a salt that's from an acid. And how would you know that? So they put 8. So when they put 8 on something, they saying that this is a salt from an acid. So it's automatically an acid. You see what I'm saying? It's an acid. It's a damn acid, man. So all of these, look, see that? And that's the main thing you need to create leaven, the acid. See, it's a leavening acid. Look, what does it say? What is this called? Monocalcium phosphate. When 8 is there, it's denoting that it's a salt that comes from a acid. So it's automatically an acid. So these things can damn near act on their own. Let's get the other one, man. Look, ammonium bicarbonate. See that? So that's automatically an acid. So that's why you throw these things out, because once you put them in your cake, you're going to get leaven, man. That's why I say right here, without the need of an acid. But that's off because that is an acid. So that's what makes it, so it reacts. Yeah, that's nasty, man. That's tough. So it reacts. It says bread rises because yeast eats sugar. But you can replace yeast, going back, you can substitute yeast with baking powder. Just and keep in mind that the leavening effect of baking powder would not be as distinct as those of yeast. Baking powder causes baked goods to rise rapidly, but not to the same extent as yeast. You can replace yeast with baking powder at a 1-to-1 ratio. See? So baking powder and baking soda can be used to replace yeast. And so yeast, aka also can be substituted with baking powder. It also could be substituted with baking soda. Yeast it eats sugar. You see what I'm saying? So baking powder will eat the sugar. So baking soda will eat the sugar. And when those two things come together, aka those two things come together, whether it be yeast or baking powder or soda, or baking powder or baking soda, when they come together with the yeast, it's gonna create that carbon dioxide reaction, which is a gas. See what I'm saying? Which take me right back to the point. Ammonium bicarbonate, that's an acid. And it says is a common leavening agent which releases CO2. It says without the need for an acid, but it is an acid. It says unlike baking powder or soda. So without the need for an acid, because it is an acid, and all it needs to do is be put with sugar. You see what I'm saying? Long as sugar is present, the formula is sugar. The formula is acid, but this thing is an acid. So you could just put it in something and it's going to cause a little rising automatically. Why? Because the acid is there. And the acid aka sugar, go back here real quick. Yeah, yeast feeds on sugar. Let's go here real quick. Chemical compound. See what we can find. These are elements. That's hydrogen. It's oxygen. There it is, man. It says a chemical term, sugar, usually refers to all carbohydrates of general formula. I believe that's carbon, that's hydrogen. Hydrogen is the gas, man. Hydrogen is what was used in this goddamn air balloon, man. Hydrogen is the main component. Well, the first gas balloon was launched in who knew? The first gas balloon flight was launched in Paris in 1783, and the gas used in the balloon was hydrogen. See? So sugar is said to be made up of hydrogen and oxygen and carbon. Sucrose, as a chemical term, sugar usually refers to all carbohydrates of the general formula, these things being put together. So when you get carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, you get sucrose, or you get sugar. Sucrose is a disaccharide or double sugar being composed of one molecule of glucose linked to the molecule. Okay, so that's pretty much it, man. All right. So see, we gotta go into things, man. Esau don't want this coming out. You figuring out how these elements work. So when you put those two together, that's why I say yeast eats, which is a fungi, which eats, but can also be substituted for baking with baking powder or baking soda that will act pretty much the same thing when put with sugar, which is nothing but more than gas. And it is going to cause carbon dioxide. An imploding effect, man. That's just what it do. So that's why you got to outright get rid of these things, because if you got long as the sugar is present, you see what I'm saying? That's all the sugar. As long as the sugar is present, all it need is acid, because that's gas with acid. Like I'm sure if you probably drop acid, like a lemon and some gas, it'll probably bubble. You see what I'm saying? That's a rising right there. So that's just for those that want to understand on a deeper level. Now we're gonna go ahead and go into this. Now, if you can see, the cake is already there, but when you put this leavening in it, it just causes it to be more than what is needed. You see what I'm saying? That's all it does. The higher the bread rises. You already had a cake, no matter if it's flat or not. But you basically create more for yourself by adding that leavening in. You make it bigger. You see what I'm saying? Which is excess. Now let's get this scripture. This is Ephesians 5:18. The Lord says, "And be not drunk with wine wherein is excess, but be filled with the Spirit." And we know that wine is said to have leavening in it, according to what we just read. So that's spiritual. The Lord wants us to put off excess in the spirit. That's pretty much what he's saying. So this is how you would simply cast off the spiritual leavening, man. You see what I'm saying? Anything that's excess. You see? It says, fungi on sugar producing alcohol, ethanol, carbon dioxide in beer and wine. See? In sparkling wine and beer, some of the carbon dioxide is so in wine, at your average wine, it's based upon excess. You see what I'm saying? It's like when you put the pop in your cup, and you got the foam that makes it overflow. You see, basically it's putting more there that's actually there. But when the foam is gone, the cup only halfway full, because that's just excess. That's more than what's needed. You see, that's why the Lord wants us to put off this, because the Lord really knows what's going on. He know the elements and all that, man. That's pretty much what you can see in this. All right. So I'm gonna go back here. Excess, and be not drunk with excess. It's like, and be not drunk with wine, wherein is excess, but be filled. But be filled with the Spirit. Now, when you go in that regular word excess, an amount of something that is more than necessary. You see, the Lord don't want us to spiritually be like this, and He physically don't want us to be like that. You know what I'm saying? You got, and He's showing us that in the diet that we will be taking part in, in the with our feast of unleavened bread. He's showing us to not have excess. You just have these flat cakes, whether they're sweet or not. You see what I'm saying? You eating anything unleavened. You eating anything that gives you the idea of not, because you're supposed to understand this. You're eating stuff that's based upon not having excess with it. You see, that has no excess. That's what He wants us to focus on. And then spiritually, you can receive that message. You see what I'm saying? It says, so He wants us to put off that physically. And then that's going to help us actually on a health sense, on a health tip. A lot of belly's going to go down, a lot of excess weight, bloatness. You see what I'm saying? You could die, man, if you, because your what's it called can get covered. Your prostate gland can get covered by all that, fat, All right. It says, so excess. So He wants to do that physically, but spiritually as well. So an amount of something that is more than necessary, permitted, or desirable. Surplus, surfeit. And the scriptures say surfeited. And we go into the word surfeited, and an excess amount of something. Real quick, let me grab that. We're going to come right back here. Sir. Let's talk about surfeiting. Go here real quick. Salaki. Scripture that go into that. Yeah. Sirach 30 and 37 and 30. It says, for excess of meats, bring it. See, there it is. See, for excess of meats, bring it sickness. See that? So when you got too much physically, this is a help feast as well, too. A health feast. You see, physically and spiritually, mentally. You see, physically, spiritually, and mentally. The Lord wants to put off excess. For excess of meats bring it sickness, and surfeiting will turn into choler or choler. Let's get that word choler real quick. It says one of the four bodily humors identified with bile and believed to be associated with a peevish or irascible temperament, anger, or irascibility. So yeah, it's going, let's see, get a good way to say this. Ready disposition to irritation. Yes, it's going to make you irritable, angry, generally bad temperament. Yeah, and to be the Lord tell us to be temperate, in all things. You see, He says be temperate, having a moderate, climate which especially lacks extremes in temperament. find in or associated with a moderate climate, temperate insects marked by moderation. So the Lord wants us to keep it, once again, he's temperate. That's the part of the doctrine, to be temperate, marked by moderation, such as keeping or held within limits, not extreme or excessive. Not extreme or excessive. Mild, man. You see? So temperate means to be moderate, self-restrained, not extreme in opinion, statement, a temperate response to an insulting challenge. You see, it says if someone's behavior is temperate, it is controlled, it is calm and controlled. So it's really supposed to be a calm time, man. You can see it in the dishes we will be eating. You see what I'm saying? He wants us to be temperate, because temperate goes back to what? Excess. See? The Lord says, be temperate in all things. All right. So for excess, Sirach 37 and 30, for excess of meats bringeth sickness, and surfeiting will turn into choler. So surfeiting, once again, an excessive amount of something. Cause someone to desire no more of something as a result of having consumed or done it to excess. So yeah, pretty much it's like it's like a spiritual it's a cleanse. It's like a detox, you know what I'm saying, from certain foods, because when you surf it, you can do it to the point where you don't want to deal with something no more. And that's how the Lord wants us to he's basically, by us, he's showing us that in his food. You see what I'm saying? Because we know when Yahushua walked up to the tree he wanted to eat the fruit, but there was no fruit on that tree. He made the tree wither away. But that tree represented us. So the Lord wants to be able to eat of us. Just like he said, eat of him. So, and we are in his stead. So we got to be able to be ate of if we are in his stead, and he was telling us to eat of him. So we in the stead of having people eat of us. You see? So he's showing us that with our own food, what we eat of, we detox from stuff that we, to not, lose desire of it. You see what I'm saying? And then not only that, but be able to take it, because there's only so long you can keep drinking beer until something fails. You see what I'm saying? Until the damn cake pop. Some it's too much. It's going to become destructive. All right. So you can see it health wise, physically, is why he's doing that. But then ultimately, if he wants to be able to eat of us, if he's taking us away, you are what you eat. You see what I'm saying? You are what you eat, like they say. If he's setting us up with a diet like that, that shows us he wants to be able to desire us by us as the food. Because if we don't have leaven in us, you're not leavened. You know what I'm saying? You physically threw out the leavening, the cakes and the wine, the yeast and the baking powders and the sodas and all the code names. The way your body is not consistent to this, consistent of this to the point of destruction, to no return. So you put it off, you detox from it from a little bit. Now you become unleavened. You see what I'm saying? Unleavened. And if we're his food, now he can partake in us in that. But spiritually, he wants us to do this in our actions. You see what I'm saying? In our appetite, in our temperament. You see what I'm saying? In different traits. That's the leavening he wants us to put off, so he can spiritually eat of us as well. So he can tolerate us, man. So he don't cast you the hell off. It's always physical and spiritual, man. It's always manifold, man. You see, because surfeiting and illness caused or regarded as being caused by excessive eating or drinking. You can't be you need to stop partaking in and stuff that's gonna bring your destruction. So you're supposed to do this before pretty much before the Passover, man. This is the leavening you're supposed to be putting off. things you don't need to be really dealing with. You probably been dealing with a lot. You need to put off a little bit because that can actually lead to your destruction. If it's too many movies, if it's too many women, if it's uh too much eating, you should be fasting before the Passover. You see what I'm saying? Certain pleasures, so you can keep, stay, tolerable for the Lord, man, and not cause yourself ultimately to get destroyed. You know, so this is beautiful, man. This is 100% beautiful. All right, so I'm gonna get a few more. I'm gonna close this out. The Lord says this. He said, be temperate in all things. Right here. Yep, be temperate. Everybody don't know what I'm talking about. Yep, that's it. 1 Corinthians 9:25, and every man that striveth for the mastery is temperate in all things. See, now they do it to obtain a corruptible crown, but we an incorruptible. See, so you're not surfeiting, you're not being excess. You're controlling yourself and putting off things you don't need to be really dealing with, so you can become incorruptible. Because when you dealing with excess, it's only so much of that. It's only so much Ryzen that cake can get before it explodes. You see what I'm saying? It's only so much excess, because 11 represents excess again. It's only so much. It's only so, excessively. There's only so much bigger that cake can get, that bread can get, that cake can rise before it explodes. Once again, there's only so much excessive things you can get into before it destroys you, man. So putting them off will be you being temperate, aka unleavened, aka putting off leavening, aka not surfeiting. You see what I'm saying? So you won't become corruptible, but incorruptible. You see, so you won't explode. But those that do it, they don't take heed. They're gonna be finished, man. So this pretty much what the Lord is saying with all this. So I mean, that's pretty much the point. I pretty much touched everything. I'm gonna go ahead and bring these back out just to really show you the Lord. That's how he talking, man. So, and be not drunk with wine, wherein is excess. Going back to the term of excess, an amount of something that is more than necessary, permitted, or desirable. See, you doing stuff you taking your liberty too far. See, too much overflow. See, gluttony, that goes into gluttony, leftovers. All right. You're lacking moderation, lack of moderation in activity, especially eating or drinking. What are you partaking in that can be? Is it something you partaking in that may be lawful, but you're doing it too much? You need to put that off, man. All right. It says, and be not drunk with wine, wherein is excess, but be filled with the Spirit. This is 1 Peter 4:3. For the time past of our life may suffice. For the time past of our life may suffice us to have wrought the will of the Gentiles. Yeah, because you did enough shit in the world. It says when we walked in lasciviousness, lust, excess of wine, using all type of doctrines just because you could, different beliefs. Well, this is what I think today. This is what I think tomorrow. This is what I think. That's how you was. You should have enough of that, man. And all of that is excess, aka leavening. You should be putting off more of your ways and putting more on the ways of the Lord, man. Yeah, it might be lawful for a certain way that you might have or think, but you want to put off more of that and put on more, the Lord. That's just the mindset, man. Revelings, banquetings, and abominable idolatry. So these are excesses, man. Partying and Got all these idols. You probably still holding on to tons of Jordans, and you know what I'm saying? You still got the love for Michael Jordan shoes going into the Passover and all this other stuff, man. You know, so that's pretty much that. And real quick, I got the Greek term for this too. When you go into that Ephesians in the 5th chapter, you know, it says an abandoned, dissolute life. See if we can get this word. Reckless extravagance or wasteful in the use of resources. That's what this is saying, man. Dissolute behavior, man. You know, this is tough. Reckless.
Profligacy.
This extravagance. You just doing too much, man. His financial prudence corrected the profligacy. The profligacies of narrow. It says reckless extravagance or wastefulness in the use of resources. Yeah, you probably got, you know, a lot of money, you just blowing it. You know, you that's leaven. You want to cast off all that. You're not thinking of the day of you know, vengeance, when the Lord shall turn his face, as the scriptures say. All right. Prodigally, it says the quality or fact of being prodigal, wasteful, and extravagant. Same meaning. All right. Same meaning. Dissolute life. Dissolute. Let's get the word dissolute. We're gonna let's look that up. A dissolute life. Unrestrained by law or morality. Lawless, immoral. You know what I'm saying? So that's leaven. You got a lot of acts of offending. That's leavening, man. Whether it may be stuff you think you're getting away with, but it's not, it's going against the law. That's excess. That's considered excess. All right. That's considered leavenous. Because these are the definitions to the word of, these are the meanings to the word having an immoral life. This is the meaning to the word excess and abandoned. Yeah, you abandoned the way of the Lord, man. Unsaved. Look, you have unsavedness. Look, excess, riot of an abandoned man, one that can not be saved. So if you know, and why? Because you ain't keeping the word of the Lord, man. You still have a lot of your old man getting in the way of you doing that. That would be excess. So everything that's caused you to do that will be leavening, and that's what the Lord wants you to cast off, so it doesn't get you destroyed, so you don't explode, you know, with that leavening. So this is Ephesians in the 5th chapter, man, in the 18th verse. And be not drunk with wine wherein is excess, but be filled with the Spirit. So that's pretty much it. Lord willing, it's been edifying. I'm gonna cut this lesson down, and I want to know how to do the baking soda. I want to know how the baking soda harm you. Well, let's get it real quick. Baking soda actually alkaline you. And I pretty much went into it already. It's a leavening agent. All right. Let me see if I pull it back up. And I gotta actually have another channel you can subscribe to, which is called All Manner of Herbs, in which we go into the health. So this is more like a health thing, that particular question. And then since I've been going already, I don't want to, you know, do a disservice to, you know, pretty much information being brought out, the truth of the matters and stuff like that by the, you know, the Spirit, the Holy Spirit, you know, the Lord has endued us with. So I won't go into it now, but I will go into this, Lord willing. But pretty much your question, because your question could be specific. If you go back and watch the beginning of the video, you should, hopefully your question, Lord willing, your question could be answered throughout that. Like in the mid frame of the video, somehow the mic muted, so you might have to fast forward it back to the part where the audio picks up, and I just pretty much re-say everything I see that was cut out. And I will re-upload this video as well with that duration of the mic being muted completely gone, to where the video just flows through. So Lord willing, it's been edifying. As I said, you can subscribe and to the All Manner of Herbs channel, and if you're serious. So till next time, I'm gonna say shalom.